What's going on, Digitamers? This is Joshua, aka ksoju, aka Blaichi, coming to you from my gaming closet. This is right after the Luxury Gaming Digimon Championship Series event, and I managed to get top 8 with my Gallantmon deck, and I did go third place in Swiss with a 5-1 record, losing only to a Gallantmon mirror match in the last round. Rounds 1 through 4, rather 1 through 5, were all played against alternating red and blue Omnimons. So it says a lot about the potential of this deck, and we're just going to hop right into the deck list. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I do manage the YouTube along with Mustang, so I will be checking frequently if you have any questions regarding this build. And so to get started, we play 4 copies of Koromon and 1 copy of Yokomon. The goal of the deck was to play high DP Digimon, so cards that could swing, survive security, survive battles on the field, and force your opponent to have to either use attacks to get rid of them or pay big money to get rid of them. And the best way to make your opponent pay money to get rid of your cards is to have your cards stick around for a while. You'll notice that as we go through the deck profile, a lot of these cards give plus DP because, again, the goal of the deck was not the extra security, but the DP. I don't mind playing a slow, grindy game. I don't mind, manipulating your board with my attacks. I don't mind slowly whittling at your security. And so again, I'm known for playing fast, high-paced decks. When I played Vanguard, I played fast, high-paced decks. But I decided that this time around, I was going to take like a more methodical, approach to playing the game, and it did well. So again, we play 4 Koromons and 1 Yokomon. The Koromon gives us static 1k all times. The Yokomon gives us 1 when we really need to swing into other Digimon, and we're not at the Mega level yet. So those are the Digitama. Following those Digitama and continuing the DP trend, we play 4 copies of Agumon. To me, Agumon is the best rookie in the game. He gives you 1k on Digi Evolution and no other restrictions. So it's basically just a free 1k. Gets our blockers up to 7, allows us to swing over Monzaimons, allows us to swing over Groundjamons, especially if that's like the only thing they've built up. And, they attacked with it because they wanted to be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe their hand wasn't good, and we could punish them for doing those things by having that extra 1k. So we play 4 copies of Agumon. There's not much else to say about him except that, we pair him with other cards in order to make sure we can beat over our opponent's threats. Following that, we play 2 copies of Gallantmon. I really wish this Digi Evolution chain had better skills so that I can play the entire Digi Evolution chain for Gallantmon in the deck. But unfortunately, the other cards don't work that well in 1.0. Gallantmon gives you 1k when your opponent has 5 cards on drop, which is really easy to accomplish. You Guy Force one of their big guys, or you just, poke at their monsters, they will get 5 cards on drop. And so that's what Gallantmon does. He's just another card that adds power to our high DP lineup. The next card that we play is 3 copies of Biyomon. And there's nothing much to say about this. We play 3 copies of Biyomon because she's a 2-cost drop. Makes it easy to start our evolution lines, makes it easier for us to manipulate the memory. The last thing we want to be doing is giving all of these Omnimon players tons of memory, unless they have the Tamer on the board, and even then we don't want to give them a lot of memory. Following the Biyomon trend, we play 4 copies of Monodramon. Again, just a low-cost card. There's really nothing to say about him here. I like Monodramon over Biyomon, and so I play 4 Monodramons. For our champions, we play 4 copies of, again, my favorite card and my favorite evolution line, 4 copies of Greymon. Greymon's source skill gives him plus 2000 DP. Again, it's Agumon. It's better. Static power. That's the goal of the deck. He's also a cheaper drop than the security +1 Greymon. I think that Greymon, if I'm not mistaken, is a 5 drop. So this allows us to hard play him in the event that we are really focused on manipulating our opponent's memory. Again, we don't always have to do that. We primarily want to be Digi-evolving on top of our rookies, but in a situation where we need to drop them, we can just slam them on the board, say, hey, it's a 4K, I'm at 3, you can go to 1, I'm at 4, or I'm at 2. We try to restrict their memory as best as possible. So here's another DP card. Following that, we play 4 copies of Cordramon. So Cordramon is just a blocker. There's nothing much really to say about him here, and I don't want to waste time in the video doing so. He's Cordramon, he's a blocker, he's a champion. And again, he pairs up nicely with the Agumon for the 7k lanes when we're trying to beat over our opponent's early champions and some ultimates. We play 4 copies of Dark Tyrannomon. Again, we're trying to be memory efficient. Previously, I didn't play Gallantmon. I was really trying to get value out of my cards, and he didn't have a skill, and I wanted to see how the deck would run if I put a card there that had a skill, maybe with a higher drop cost, and it worked fine. Sorry guys, had a bit of technical difficulty there, but we're back. And so continuing on, we played 4 copies of the Gallantmon. I tried playing the deck with cards that gave you more value, cards that had the actual skill when you play them, combining it with the both sets of Greymons. But in trying to restrict my opponent's memory and have a way to fight the Omnimon players and people who really rely on that DP, I decided that the Gallantmon was a better fit for the deck, just because of what it could provide from a memory standpoint. The next card that we play is 2 copies of Metal Greymon. And so I only have 2 copies of this card. If I had 3, I would definitely put a third one in, maybe in favor of one of the Groundramons, or I would, find another way to make space. But currently 2 is working out pretty well. The Greymon skill is in source, pop plus 3000. So again, it's adding to our DP cards. You'll notice we have, with the Digitamas, 6 cards that are able to provide DP right now. And so his normal skills are, when he swings, pass your opponent 5 memory, and he gains security plus 2. Or rather, he has security plus 2, and then you lose memory when you swing. And that's basically it. So, in the beginning of the game, when your opponent hasn't set up, it's really nice to be able to just swing in. Even if you pass the memory, primarily you're starting your turn with maybe at least 1. So, if he's already on board, because you Digivolved him to source last turn, you can just bring him out, or if you're on 2, you don't mind swinging with him, because, again, even if you pass your opponent memory, they're taking 3 security. So it's basically, a memory per security. And that's fine with me. He helps build our power columns. If you combine it with the Greymon and the Yagomon, that's a total of 6k. And so, again, we play 2 copies of the Metal Greymon. He goes with our DP theme. The next card that we play is 3 copies of Metal Tyrannomon. We play 3 copies of Metal Tyrannomon because he's big, right? So I said at the start of the video, we're trying to make a deck that has cards with high staying power, and the best way to have high staying power is to have your cards stick around. So we do play 3 copies of the Metal Tyrannomon. Again, I don't have a special reason for having him here. He's big, he fits the theme, he has staying power, and if you combine him with even just the Yokomon and the Yagomon, he can beat over Rested Megas if you need to. He can crash into Rested Megas if you need to. And if you do have the Yagomon and the Greymon, or the Greymon and the Yokomon, he basically beats over all Megas that's not Omnimon. So he is here because we're trying to play cards with staying power, and he's good. We're running out of space here, guys. Pretty soon we're going to have to slide some of these cards up. But we're going to go as far as we can. So the next card that we play is 4 copies of Gallantmon. So we play 4 copies of Gallantmon because we're trying to be memory efficient. So if our opponent passes us 6 memory, we're able to make our Gallantmon play. Our Gallantmon play, excuse me, is 8 o'clock in the morning. It's easy to make the Gallantmon play because if they pass us 5 memory, we just drop Gallantmon, drop the Gallantmon, blow something up. They've taken a minus on their board, and now we have a big monster on the board. And then they have to deal with that problem. Or they're going to get penalized for it. This is actually how I won round 4 against one of the Omnimon players. He had the Monzaimon. That was all he had on the board. He passed me some memory because he hard played Blue Mat. And I really needed to make a play. And so, I did go into Gallantmon, and then my turn passed, but he only had 1 memory. So he wasn't really able to do anything about the Gallantmon. He ended up, hatching an egg, Digivolving up to Gorillamon, passing his turn. Next turn I Gallantmon the Monzaimon. And like a couple turns before that, I actually did have 5 memory, and then I Gallantmoned him. And in the last game, the guy plays an Omnimon, blows up my guy, and then he had a Monzaimon in waiting, and I literally just went Gallantmon, blow up your Monzaimon. In game 2, I actually did that to blow up a blocker, and then I was able to swing in for game next turn because he didn't have a blocker. So we're just trying to be memory efficient as well, and so thus the Gallantmon. Then we play the Guardian Deity of the Digital World. We play 3 copies of Gallantmon. Again, I apologize that we're putting the cards everywhere. Kind of want to show off the deck at the same time so that way you can see the whole thing in its entirety. So we play 3 copies of the Gallantmon. We only play 3 copies because he is costly with his memory. So he is a 4 memory card, and we're trying to be memory efficient. Our opponents are not always going to pass us a bunch of memory. So we do want to be able to try to play cards down without passing our turns. And so that's why I only played 3. On top of that, I didn't want the deck to be so Gallantmon focused because he does require a Tamer in order to get the most value out of his skill. And since we might not always have the Tamer, you'll notice we don't play the Tamer Searchers. I opted to play 3 Gallantmons and then disperse my Megas with some other useful cards that I thought would make the deck run a little bit better. Gallantmon's skill is that on play, or rather on Digi Evolution, if you have a Tamer in play, blow up one of your opponent's guys with 6 DP or less. Again, as I said earlier, that comes in handy more often than not. We're blowing up the Monzaimons for the Omnimon players. We're blowing up the Groundramons for the Omnimon players. We're blowing up blockers. We're blowing up stuff before they can build their lanes, and that's important in this deck because we don't swarm, right? So we're trying to mitigate the board at the same time that we're digivolving up, which is why I said I would love to play some of the other Gallantmon support, but it's just not good in this format. Next, we played 2 Volks. The reason we play 2 Volks is because we're concerned about people going wide. It's not necessarily a rookie rush thing, but just for players who maybe don't have the hand to go up and they need to go wide and they start hard playing rookies, or you're playing purple, and they start dropping rookies like it really is here, because we don't do so well against decks that swarm, right? We kind of do because we can blow them up, but we kind of don't because if they go wide, we can't do anything about them going wide unless their Digimon swings and survives. So that's why we play Volk. For the cards that we can't kill with Volk, we kill with Gallantmon. For the cards we can't kill with Gallantmon, those cards will probably swing in and survive. And in that situation, that's why we play high DP monsters. So 2 copies of the Volk. His first skill, by the way, is Security +1. It's just static skill, so we don't mind digivolving up into him, having him go up to like 14 and swinging. I actually won a different one of my games by having a red Tamer in the back, having him with Security +1, and then having the sources necessary to swing, and then he swung in with +4, so he basically beat over a Metal Garurumon. I think the one time he did die is because he crashed into an Omnimon, and we expect that when we're playing, against Omnimon decks. Play 1 copy of the War Greymon. This is the best card, personally, of me in the deck because he's my favorite. We're being biased. His skill is on Digi Evolution. He gains +1 security, and the static skill of your options don't activate in security. So he's here because, again, we didn't want the deck to be so Gallantmon focused. If you notice, my Megas deal extra damage in various ways. So the Gallantmon deals one by deleting it. Volk has security. Greymon has security. We're still red. We're still a deck that wants to be pressuring our opponents with extra security. I still believe that it's a deck that wants to accelerate the game because that's basically what we do in 1.0. We have high DP. We make our opponent's DP go down fast. We make them have to respond to their DP going down fast. We accelerate the game. If you open the game up, let's say with this guy, you Digivolve, you have the Tamer, you swing for 3 security, and they don't get an object card, and your guy doesn't die, and they were still setting up, right? They're at 2 security. They're 1 attack from him to having none, and another attack for the game being over. And so it really makes your opponent feel like they need to play faster, and in playing faster, sometimes people make mistakes, or they have to rush things that they, weren't ready to do yet, and then you could punish them for doing that. So like, if you have the build up for the Omnimon, right, and you have the Monzaimon, if you weren't at 2 security, you might have waited. But now that you're at 2, you need to get to Omnimon as fast as possible. You hard drop a Monzaimon, and now I Digivolve up into Gallantmon because I can do that in this deck, and then I delete your Monzaimon. Because if you play 5 for the Monzaimon, or you play 5 for the Groundramon, I drop my Groundramon, I Digivolve into Gallantmon, I blow up your Monzaimon, and I've broken your board before you can get started. So again, red is a high pressure deck in my opinion, and that's how I want to play it. We have 1 copy of Puppetmon. He's here because he wins games. Basically, that's the only reason he's here. Again, we don't have a way to deal with our opponent going wide, so this is the answer to that. Volk is the answer for the small monsters, and Puppetmon basically gives us an extra turn. And in most cases, we're not just dropping this card willy-nilly. We're dropping it because we feel like we see victory. So his skill is on attack, gain 1 memory. So again, it helps us be more memory efficient. But we're really using him to buy ourselves another turn so that our big monsters can do big monster things. We play 2 copies of Omnimon. The reason we play 2 copies of Omnimon is because he fits the theme. So again, my goal is to blow your stuff up while I'm building my lanes up. And one of the best monsters for blowing boards up right now is Omnimon. So we do play 2 copies of Omnimon. It helps that he's my second favorite card next to War Greymon. I am going to try to make a War Greymon list at top so I can show it to you guys. But yeah, he's Omnimon. He clears boards, and since we have problems with swarms, he was a nice fit to slot in the deck to say, hey, we have to match this. And then if you see my Omnimon, right, now you're concerned about making certain plays, even though the focus of the deck is not Omnimon. So even just seeing him makes players think twice. Even just seeing him makes players think twice. And so it's also like a mental thing. So we play 2 copies of the Omnimon. And then finally, getting down to the last cards of the deck, and surprisingly, we actually had enough room to do this. We play 3 copies of Taikamiya. He's here to make our turns more memory efficient. He's here because we need some Gallantmon. He's here because he helps us accelerate the game by getting the extra security. It's Taikamiya. And so it also helps us when we want to be able to Digivolve into Gallantmon and not pass our opponent a lot of memory. But again, he's primarily here for the Gallantmon. An interesting thing to note is that I have built up the security Metal Greymon in source, drop Taikamiya, let my opponent have a turn. If they didn't play a blocker, I move out the Metal Greymon. I hard play a 2-drop card like Biomon or Monodramon to put my opponent to put myself to 1, and then I played another card that I could Digivolve up later, and I swing with the Greymon. That only puts them to 4 memory. And since we're typically trying to hover them around 3 to 4, that's not that bad. And especially if we know we have the response for the 4 memory that we're giving them, which allows the Omnimon players to go from basically champion to Omnimon, because it's 2 in order to get the Manzai, it's 2 in order to get to Plessy, it's 6 in order to get to the Omnimon. So, if we do that, we do have to acknowledge that we're letting them open that play up, but we're doing it in exchange for memory, and if they make that play, they probably can't swing unless they already have this setup for Omnimon, and so, we're doing that knowing we have cards like Puppamon. We're doing that knowing we have cards in Source. We're doing that knowing that our high DP monsters are going to beat over the Omnimon, or that we have the Gaia Force in hand. And then speaking of Gaia Force, the last card in the deck is 4 copies of Gaia Force. I previously played 3 copies of Gaia Force. However, after testing 3 copies, and it was great, it wasn't clunky at all or anything like that. But I needed the extra Gaia Force because I don't have that much removal in this deck. I don't really have a way to beat over cards unless I build into those ultimates with high power. So this is how we do that. We play the Gaia Force. It's the best option card in the game. It handles threats. There's a reason that people are teching Taikamiyas and Gaias in their deck. It's because everyone wants to be red. And so we do play the Gaia Force. You have to play it. You don't necessarily have to play it at 4. 3 works. I felt like 4 allowed me to see it more consistently. And on top of that, it meant I had it in hand. And even though I completely flubbed my top 8 game because I bricked extremely hard, I had like 3 Ground Dramons in my hand and no Megas and no option cards. Like, it was really bad. But I did have the Gaia Forces. I was able to stall the game out because even though he kept dropping all of these Megas, because it was like a weird variant of, what I'm going to call Big Mega. It's like Megazoo variant that plays a lot of option cards and ultimates and stuff. But that's not the point. Um, I was able to just stall while I was waiting to try to draw some pieces because he would give me a lot of memory. I'd throw a Gaia Force down, his Mega's gone. And I basically did that 4 turns in a row until, basically I didn't have any more and I still hadn't drawn any rookies that I could play or any champions that I could really put down. So we played 4 copies of the Gaia Force in order to help us with our Delete Wild Digivolving skill. And that is going to be the deck list. If you have any questions about how I play it, or you just want to know why I made certain choices over others, feel free to ask. But again, the goal of the deck was high DP, and so in order to fit the high DP theme, that's why I built the deck the way I did. And I'll just show you one, or rather the preferred, and this will be later in the video, but I'll just show you my preferred Digi-Evolution, and then we'll be on the way. So primarily, the way you want to be Digi-Evolving is the Agumon into the Greymon, into the Metal Greymon, into basically anything at this point. If you get here, you can Digivolve to anything in the game, and you'll be able to beat over anything in the game. This column with Volk, who's 10, beats over Omnimon at 16k. This doesn't have a this does not have a Digitalman in source, by the way. So if you're playing blue and they shoot your guy, we're still 6k plus onto a Volk, which is 16, which again beats over everything in the game, including Omnimon, or everything currently in the game. So, but ideally, you do want to have this entire lane. This allows your Gallantmon to be 17k, which again eliminates threats like Omnimon. Even if you take out both of these, your Gallant's still 16, which also beats over Omnimon. So once you get here, you're pretty safe from Omnimon. The only thing that stops them is an option card. And again, we can swing into their monsters and still deal the security damage, so it allows us to keep applying pressure while also clearing the board. So that's going to be it for the profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and comment in the core news video with your favorite Digimon. Like and comment and subscribe to the YouTube in order to be entered in the raffle to get a red Digimon trial deck. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.